Today I'll be answering one of the questions I get asked the most often. What's the difference between a violin and a viola? It's a great question because they do look really similar, especially if you're at an orchestra concert and you're looking at the string section. It can look like a whole bunch of violins with some cellos and basses on the side. But the viola has some key differences which really set it apart as an awesome instrument in its own right. So I have both my violin and viola here today to show you some of those differences. The most notable here is the size. So this is my violin. It's a full-size violin. They go fractionally, starting at I think 1/32 all the way up to 4/4, which is what this is. And this is my viola. It's a 16-inch viola. They go by inches and half-inch sizes. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure what the smallest size is, but they do go up a little bit bigger than 16-inch also. But they're just longer, they're wider, they're just bigger instruments than the violin. Otherwise, the bodies are very similar. In fact, they're the same in every other way. They all have the chin rest, the bridge, 4 strings. They're played similarly. They sound similar, except for that the viola strings are pitched differently. So on the violin, our highest string is an E, then an A, D, and then a G. The viola's highest string is an A, the same A that the violin has, but it's the viola's highest string instead of second string, followed by a D, G, and then they have a C string on the bottom, which is nice and low. Interestingly, those are the same pitch names that the cello strings are. So that's the big difference in the strings on the instrument. The bows are a little bit different, though not too far off. And there can be a little bit of variation in the bows also, but a violin bow is a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter weight, and then the frog, this part here, usually has a right angle here, nice sharp point. The viola bow is a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, not much though, and it usually has a curved angle on the frog. Finally, the last big difference is the music for violin and viola. Violin music is written in the treble clef. So that's what we usually use for higher pitched instruments. The piano has the right hand music in treble clef and the left hand music in bass clef. And most instruments fall in one of those two categories for the majority of their music, bass clef or treble clef. So violin is all in treble clef. Viola has their own clef, which can be one of the biggest challenges if you're a string player but new to the viola, is having to learn how to read this. They're one of the only instruments that play in the alto clef. A few others do occasionally when it suits their range a little bit better, but viola plays in alto clef exclusively. So that's the big difference for reading their music. They're beautiful complements to each other. They sound so wonderful together in an orchestra or in a string quartet or on their own, really. So I'd like to play a little bit so you can just hear the difference in their sounds. So here's the violin, which has the beautiful high-pitched notes. And then the viola, which does the low notes. I just love the way that the C string really resonates on the viola. Well, I hope that cleared up any questions you might have had about what some of the differences are between violins and violas. If you enjoyed learning these string things today, please hit subscribe and I'll see you next time.